Hey guys, I just thought I'd come and share a video with you on Spear of the Church invasions. For those of you who aren't familiar, Spear of the Church is the new covenant in the Ring City DLC. The covenant permits you to invade as the boss in the DLC. You effectively become the boss of the DLC. You have a couple of extra helpers with you. You have AI summons, so it's not just you. You'll see there's a church guardian here playing with me as well. You get one in the beginning, and actually they spawn in before you, so they're there for about 15 seconds before you actually spawn in. So savvy hosts will actually try to kill them before you show up, because if they're a lone host and they try to fight both of you, they're going to have a very, very difficult time. And once your health gets down to 60%, a second guardian of the church will be summoned in to assist you. So this particular covenant is actually, access to it is gated behind a boss fight. You have to fight boss Midir, a dragon, an exceptionally difficult boss. So getting this covenant is not easy. Now I understand you can still be summoned as a Spear of the Church if you're not a part of the covenant by having a summon sign, either white or red. I believe anywhere in the DLC, but I'm not entirely sure if it prioritizes summon signs near the boss fog. There's a lot of this that's still not well understood, at least by me. So I joined the Covenant. Initially, I was getting summons every minute or two. That has slowed considerably. Now this character is, I think, soul level 88. I was getting summons every 2 to 3 minutes. Now it's more on the order of once every half hour to 40 minutes. And I'm not sure if that's because there's more people in the Covenant now, or there's fewer people playing on as the host. It's just not clear to me what's going on. If you like invading in this game, this Covenant is by far the most fun I have ever had. It's like an invasion, but with all the annoying shit cut out. So for example, no more summoner class, right? Somebody brings a phantom to the fight, you kill them, that's it, they're dead. There's no more summoning more phantoms. You get a substantial buff in the form of defense, so your opposition attacks do less damage to you, and this buff is a function of how many phantoms the host brings with him. So if they bring a full party in, each attack does very little damage overall. With respect to the right strategy from a host perspective, I've gone back and forth on this. I used to think the optimal strategy was to bring fewer phantoms in so that the invader doesn't get as many buffs. But I don't really think that's true anymore. What I've learned is that hosts that come in with phantoms, especially if they've really poised up, if they come in with like the ring great swords or the Lido hammer with a lot of poise so that you can't interrupt them, they're going to destroy you. That really seems like the best approach. But this is just such a fun covenant, and you'll see a lot of the hosts get very, very frustrated. Because it's hard. It's very, very hard for them. Now, I can't heal directly, but I can use passive healing items. I can use healing spells. I actually respec slightly so that I can use medium heal. I won't usually use that against a single host or even a host with a single phantom, but in a situation where they're bringing in more phantoms, I definitely will. I mentioned the defense buff. I believe you also get some kind of poise buff. I've just seen too many instances where I felt like my attacks should have been interrupted, but they weren't. So you get defense buffs, I believe a poise buff of some kind. And then I just kind of make them chase me around, and I do turn and burns. That seems really to be the kind of the optimal strategy. And you can see here the host disconnects. There's a surprising number of hosts that disconnected on me while I was playing. I think they just got really, really frustrated. I personally have beaten this boss a number of times, and what I found is it's really about luck of the draw. It's really two things. Luck of the draw, who do you get as an invader? If you get a skilled invader, you're in trouble. But then the other thing is, can you kill the church guardian before the invader shows up? You have about 15 seconds to do so. And I'm successful probably 50% of the time. And if you are, then you can focus your full attention on the invader. If you are not able to kill that first summon, chances are you're not going to be successful, because they'll start healing. Their healing will heal the invader no matter where they are in the room. And it becomes very, very difficult to manage at that point. I had the most fun when there were a large number of phantoms. That's when it became challenging, truth be told. If you're good at invading in this game, you will be bored pretty quickly if it's just a single host or a host and the phantom. And it really made me realize, like, I realized that I just don't understand ganking, because if you get a single host here and you're ganking them with the church summons, it's just not fun. I mean, you're just so much more powerful than them. You're just going to blow them away. There's no challenge at all in it. But when you've got 3 and 4 people chasing after you like this is a lot of fun to play. Trying to outsmart them, trying to figure out which people to go after, trying to protect the AI summons, because there you can see they just let off a heal, which is really, really critical that you try to keep them alive so that they can keep healing you. One thing I've noticed is that if you're playing against just a couple people, even if they attack you while you heal, if you're able to use one of the chimes that gives you a lot of poise when you use it with the L2, even though they may attack you, the heal will still do more health restoration than they will do damage to you during the healing process. So that's something to keep in mind. With this boss, I think you almost have an obligation as an invader, because you are the boss, right? And there, I totally read that parry coming. I punished the phantom there for it. I was pretty proud of that. But you are the boss, so you have an obligation here to really try to play well. You do not want to go AFK when you've got this particular covenant equipped. I was feeling a little cheeky there. I don't normally do that. But you don't want to just go AFK with this covenant equipped and get summoned in. Now I know for some of the covenants they've got some sort of like AFK protection where if you're away too long, it won't summon you. It'll actually disable the covenant. I imagine they have something similar here, but I don't know when it kicks in, how long you may have to be away. But you have an obligation to people to give them a good boss fight. And how try hard I go really depends on the number of phantoms. So when I see he's got 3 phantoms and the host here, then I go full try hard. I'll heal, I'll do whatever I can to beat these guys. Those stun locks though, those are so dangerous. And this guy's got the hammer. I thought I spaced it, but I did not, and he took away about 1/3 of my health as a consequence. And so now I see an opportunity. I'm chasing him down, and the phantoms aren't doing a good job of protecting their host here. Not good situational awareness there from the phantoms. And I was able to take on the host with all 3 phantoms still alive, which is pretty remarkable. And you notice there too, when I was waving, I didn't get interrupted by that phantom, which normally would have happened, which again I treat as evidence for this kind of poise buff that you're getting. I haven't gone into the stats while I'm in here to look and see what's going on. It'll be interesting to see as more information about this covenant comes out. One thing I've learned, if somebody brings unbreakable patches in, I usually just don't even fight him, because he has so much health, it's just not really worth it. I usually just try to avoid him and deal with the host. As far as like items, so the covenant actually gives you a couple items. Now there's one item that you can find elsewhere in the DLC. It's technically not connected to the covenant. The Guardian Shivs. It's an item that uses FP, and you kind of throw these blue daggers out, and you'll see the Guardians use them quite frequently here. Seems when the Guardians use them, they stun lock you really badly, but when I use them, they don't seem all that effective, so I don't use them very much. And then there's an item called the Church Spear, which brings the swords out of the ground, the white swords. I haven't figured out how to use that effectively. That actually gets upgraded depending on your standing within the Covenant, so I'm at rank 2 in the Covenant. Here you can see the host here is kind of getting a little frustrated. And it's hard to blame him. It is a little frustrating to have to chase somebody around like this. But again, with another phantom, I can't afford to tow it with these guys, especially when the phantom is one of the NPCs who just has such an incredibly deep pool of health. You'll see in a minute here, he kind of just gives up and sits down. And then I go and I fight patches on my own. And with being able to focus on him one-on-one, I'm able to destroy him. And then I'm able to turn my attention to the host. One thing, if you're a host, Do not treat this as a duel, because even though I can't heal, I have so much more defense, and you in order to keep things on an even standing, you definitely need to be estusing through this boss fight to keep it fair. So it is not a duel. Do not treat it as one. But talking about the items that you want to bring, I like to have some passive healing items. I like to have my Bless shield. Sometimes I keep the Sun Princess ring on. Obviously, Life Ring, Ring of Favor and Protection. You can find Ring of Favor and Protection +3 earlier in the DLC, so I have that on. And I also keep the Hornet Ring on. Even though I don't parry very often in here, it's good because you frequently will break somebody's guard if they're not PvP savvy, and you can punish them for that. Or if you get a backstab, you'll get do quite a bit more damage. So I definitely keep the Hornet Ring equipped for this as well. And then if you're a faith build, like I said, you can use some healing items. At this point, you see I do not have medium heal equipped. In one of the earlier videos I do. This was before I actually went and respec to have the healing spell. So this is the point where the host has decided they've kind of had enough, and they're just going to let me duke it out with patches. So when I've beaten this boss, I've done it a couple different ways. I've played it straight up against another invader. On my New Game +3 build, I was having quite a bit of trouble doing it by myself against the invader and the 2 summons. So I tried going offline and playing it that way, and I had a lot more success. Of course, they summon in a third AI opponent instead of a human opponent, but an AI opponent is never going to be as good as a human. So it's much easier. So if you are having trouble here and you don't want to summon in an army of phantoms, you can go offline and beat the boss that way. Feels a little like cheating, but I just got to a point where trying to do it myself in New Game +3 was just proving way too difficult. On this character in New Game, it wasn't very hard at all. I was able to do it pretty easily, I think on my second attempt. I have to tell you, I was so excited to be able to get into this covenant and be able to invade people like the Mirror Knight or Old Monk. It's such a cool mechanic. So here again, I'm going to fight him straight up. He's waiting for this moment, but I really kind of wish he would heal because I have such an advantage over him. I think if I were to do this again, I probably would have backed off and let him heal up. I felt a little bit badly about that. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. Thanks for checking in.